I know we don't put it that way.
Somebody wants to ask who somebody is? Okay.
And I'm about to call 911.
I'm just kidding. And I could do it, you know, this is not LA.
If I may, there's something else related to about the HARP that has to do with weather and the HARP project. I can do this really quickly. I'd like to get a little tidbit out there for people to.
Do you have a little time so we could talk about it later? Are you gonna stay for a while?
It's just really quick, like 2 minutes.
Well, it's not so much about the time, is that I think it could be inside.
Are we already
We're gonna talk about energy.
Are we already on stack and everything?
No, it's just that if we talk
Get
about
on the agenda,
environment,
is the point.
you know, into a discussion, that if you want to talk, like other people also want to talk about all that kind of thing too. So that could, go from one to another.
I know. I didn't know the HARP project was on stack. I'm sorry.
It wasn't.
HARP project?
It wasn't.
It wasn't on stack.
No, it was just an impromptu kind of thing that we did. We had some free time, so I asked if people were interested in seeing the video.
Wait, sorry. What do you want to talk about?
Okay, well, the government back in the during the Vietnam War, this actually started out in the 40s. They would use bombers to leave behind certain types of metallic flakes, and it would cause them to rain. There was a village that they did this experiment on in England, and it rained 30 feet within a day. I mean, like 276 people died. Dams and bridges were washed out. Houses were washed away. And now, if you look at the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency website, or if you look at the Department of Defense, if you look in the right areas, you'll find that they are actively researching changing the weather. They're looking at it as a game changer in modern warfare.
Yeah, no, it's been a while, and definitely, every army, mostly the American one, but, I've been looking, to like climate change as a weapon. That's definitely true.
Well, if you wipe out people's water supply through climate change, which is happening in Pakistan and big parts of Africa, it's pretty effective way of dealing with it.
Well, I was just gonna say that I was writing this motion. I didn't mean to.
Reports. There's a report on I don't know more.
Okay.
I think it's time on that. Let's go. Let's try to stay on 2 minutes. 2 minute talk, everybody. And so we can do everything.
Okay. All right. Thank you all for showing up for the march. It was really cold. It was really cool. Holy cold, freezing and all that. But I kind of liked it a lot because it's like I finally grew up and knew how to dress for the weather and sorta, and I had a skirt on, so I wasn't really freezing, so it was really cool. But I think that it was a very effective march. I think that we got our message out there. Unfortunately, of course, no one's at work on that day, so they really can't hear the message. But that's okay because it's our presence that matters. Even if we affect 3 people, to me, it's like we've made progress. I'd rather affect 3 people and have them awaken, or 20 people who don't care, and because those 3 people can carry that message to their own people. So anyway, so I thought it was a really good attended, event. I'm really sorry that we didn't have more people around dancing, but that's okay. I'm of the belief that who's ever there is there. And I always believe, like everything happens for a reason. We come into people for a reason. We, in our path, we all encounter one another for a reason. And I don't know if this is part of, like future planning for I don't know more, but we have J28 coming up on Monday, where we're going to be marching from gold medal park, and then going on an Idle No More march, and we're trying to get people out there in regalia. And
What?
in regalia, where's the march? On the
Yeah, okay.
yeah, regalia, and just so
Regalia
that you
means
know,
fancy clothes? What's that mean?
no, the jingle dress regalia because it's a healing dance. It's very like it's a cultural teaching on it. On the jingle dress dance and what it's for and how they came into being and things like that. So there was a call out from I don't know more up in Canada to have all the women dressed in their jingle dress regalia for J28 for a healing ceremony, so that we would all be simultaneously doing this healing ceremony through the jingle dress. And so anyway, so that was one of the requests that came forward on J28, and so then we put the word out. We're trying to put the word out about the march, and then on the 20th, and we were putting it up on the Minnesota listserv. Shannon's got information about that, so she did a flyer. I think maybe some of you got it. So we'll be putting that flyer up in the jingle dress call for jingle dress dancers on Monday. Just so that you all know, I just found out this afternoon that Chief Teresa Spence, who's been fasting, today's her 44th day, will be ending her fast tonight. She and Ray Robinson, the elder who's been fasting with her, has agreed to end their fast. And so they're going to be having a ceremony for her tomorrow, an acknowledgement ceremony for her tomorrow for her fast, for 44 days. But, that's a huge sacrifice that you make for the people when you do that. She may not see the impact, or she may not see the immediate results of why she did what she did, but it sure awakened the world, to what's going on in Canada. She helped with that,
The reason she was doing it was because she wanted Harper to speak with her,
Yeah.
and from what I understand,
Well,
he is going to do that.
Well, things changed over, like the initial, first, you have Idle No More, the formation of Idle No More, and what Idle No More is. Idle No More is a grassroots movement who came together in response to Harper's legislative bills, including C-45, Omnibus C-45. The group of women, Sheila, Lena, Sylvia, and Jess, the founders of Idle No More, seen the danger of this legislation, and they started to meet and gather, and that's how Idle No More got started. What Harper did, which was alarming to everyone, is that the First Nations and their representatives, they call them chiefs up there, we call them chairmen down here, they call them chiefs up there, were not consulted with, and they were not informed about the legislation built within this 450-page document that Harper had signed off on December 5th. So on December 4th, they had protections, they had land, they had, their sovereignty. And so by the 5th, all of that was basically under threat and removed, especially with C-45, because it removed the federal protections of the lakes and rivers in Canada and took that jurisdiction and decision-making away from the chiefs and the bands. And that's why you got the uproar from the tribal governments, not so much the grassroots. I mean, they were already forming, but the formal, governing bodies that meet with Harper and with other, governing officials, okay? So Chief Spence, who was a chief of OccuCast, decided after that happened that she would go on this hunger strike, separate from Idle No More.
Right.
So that she was demanding a meeting with Harper.
Right.
Okay? See, and the thing about it, now this is just my opinion, is that when you're wheeling and dealing with government, the thing that happens with that is that you have to be precise, and she was not precise because she kept changing the game as it went on. So for example, it changed from Harper to the Governor General. Well, the Governor General did go meet with her, okay, but did they lay out the game plan for the Governor General to respond to? So there's all of these very technical processes, and I think that it's really a detriment to Chief Spence that she wasn't really I mean, and the other thing is that she had been fasting, so she's not really in her cohesive, total, her mind. I mean, it's like people are kind of holding her accountable for things that she's doing and saying, and it's just like, well, how would your mind be affected if you didn't eat for 30 days? I mean, really, so I mean,
We're supposed to be meeting with her, so.
well, according to when?
I just read it in a newspaper about a day ago. So.
Yeah, well, things changed and she's not fasting anymore. She's letting the chief, this came like 2 hours ago, right from Canada, right from her helpers, okay, that she is, because I'm in contact with them, okay, I'm in contact with the founders and on a daily basis, okay, as to what kind of is going on with I Don't Know More, okay, and also what's going on with the chief. So I get pretty much up-to-date information, and she just released that information today, that she would be ending her fast this evening. And then also to respond to that, there was an agreement that she made with the chiefs, that as long as they signed off on this agreement, that she would end her fast, and they agreed to do that, and that's what helped. Whether or not she meets with Harper or not is irrelevant.
Do you know much about what's going on in South Dakota with the Protect the Sacred meeting?
No.
Does anybody? Gillette just called and said it's pretty fun. There's a lot of folks there, but that's all she said. She's with her grandson, and he started to cry, so she had to hang up. But that last call was from Gillette.
Oh,
She's there. Yeah, she's there.
Andrew is there?
And Sparks and a bunch of other people, I guess.
Right.
In South Dakota?
So we were here on Facebook for sure.
Yeah, hopefully. They were live streaming too, but
Too bad we couldn't have
I
Skyped.
don't know more. I said for the plane, my plane cannot do it. It's too cold. It doesn't fly around here. He said to call Anoka County Airport and find someone.
Okay.
Huh.
I'll try to get in contact with that.
Yeah, I'm not too. We were trying to get a plane to get a banner to fly behind it. It says I don't know more.
That means that the plane is on idle?
For what?
I don't know more!
We had a friend that had a plane. I said, remember, I said, do you guys have a plane? Because first we were thinking about having like a
it's gonna be
human,
expensive.
I don't know more, people stand in
Monday?
line.
Or when?
No.
It was an idea.
Oh, the idea.
Okay,
It was-
to
yeah,
have
it was
all the
an
I don't know more supporters come together and then make the human letters I don't know more, and then have a plane fly over it and do a photo shoot of it, all right?
Sweet.
And he knew somebody with a plane. And I said,
Wow.
well, can you ask them if they could do this? And he said they'd get a hold of them, they just got back into the country, they can't do it, contact Anoka.
Try Holman Field.
Yeah, dirigible.
Oh,
I want to highlight how beautiful it's going to be on Monday at 5 o'clock. We scoped out the site. It's a beautiful spiral walk around this mound behind the Guthrie. You're standing up there. The Mississippi River is here. The skyline is there. The sun will be setting there, and there'll be drummers and dancing. And then we may march over the Stone Arch Bridge and back or something, or traffic. We don't know, but it's going to be fun Monday at 5. So
It's gonna be 34 degrees.
Isn't that the park that they modeled after a burial ground too, or something?
it's a mound.
Isn't that why it's? Maybe that was a urban legend or something.
There's something down the road
They
from
modeled
there.
it, you said?
Or they-
That's why I thought they built it as a mound, but
It's probably a landfill.
yeah.
No, there is a site
It's another one that was.
down the road.
Yeah, it's not. Oh.
Not too far away, there is some historic.
Something or another.
atrocity, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I think Bill McGuire put
Anything else
his money,
about MLK?
Bill,
and then he's going, from 3M.
he's gonna come back and dig it up.
And then he will sell it.
Oh,
He will sell it.
The Gold Medal Park, he put his money in the Gold Medal Park. It's so austere, I think it looks terrible. But I mean, what it'd be good for is 4th of July fireworks, because you could sit on that mound or lie on the mound and watch the fireworks over the Stone Arch Bridge. That's the only reason I would think to put it there.
He donated the money.
it's fun to longboard down.
Okay, then.
MLK months. How was it?
That was great.
100 people there?
I was there.
100 people there? And
How cold was it? No.
Just
kidding.
They were in the
Skyways.
Skyways.
Yeah.
And I thought it was very clever to have the rally at the Hennepin County Government Center with the speakers up on the stairway between the two escalators.
I know.
And then at the end, Kathy came with the Occupy
Catering
wagon.
wagon.
Catering wagon.
We're calling
With
it
hot
Occupy
apple cider
Catering
and
Red
cocoa
Wagon.
before we went out for the round dance at
The
the
cops.
Hennepin Government Center. So.
The cops always so funny.
Dean
Cops,
Christensen.
like, please leave, room for everybody, and comes down with like 2 people in an hour, it's not like we're
It
gonna
was so cold it was closed.
That was nice
close
of
to
us.
do his job. Go ahead.
How is it that they're allowing an MLK march at, not at Government Center, but Occupy Minnesota is not allowed to do anything at Government Center?
It wasn't.
Oh, that's a long story.
It was sort of
Who
spur of the
said
moment kind
Occupy is not
of
allowed?
arrangement that they.
The
could
government.
do.
Oh, they say Minnesota.
I don't think it's lawful that you could say this kind of group cannot meet here.
It is unlawful for Occupy Minnesota to hold an official
Occupation.
volunteer.
At the government
Yeah,
center?
it's the whole thing with the settlement and everything else. The same thing all across the country, just more bureaucratic, basically.
Yeah.
It's like Ordinance 244.60.
This wasn't done officially, this was one
National
guard there sort of felt
security?
pressured into doing it.
Oh, great.
And it wasn't about Occupy, it was about MLK, so.
I know,
look
but
really
I'm not-
tacky.
I know.
Yeah, I don't know what the
Do
law
lots of
exactly.
I don't
all
think
the
they
time.
I think you cannot, they could find something that if you have more than 20 people together, they could call you a terrorist, no. if you have
That's
20
insane.
people
The
with,
city of St. Paul.
like 20 Muslims with, that are just chanting and doing nothing, I'm sure they could arrest them.
But Martin Luther King is a national holiday, and it was a celebration.
That would look really bad.
It doesn't
The
matter
worst
if
thing
it's a
is
celebration or
to
not.
attack a rally.
But it was great, the crowd was great. It was, all ages, all colors, all sections, just really nice. Very colorful, very, very, very diverse. It was really nice, beautiful people. Yeah.
But I did take issue with that technology. Because she's been down with, I don't care if she did this proposal, it says Occupy is really cool. Well, if they pass these resolutions and then they don't act on them, words are just words. So that's my pitch.
I agree with that. Also, RT Ryback has done a lot of, publicly, he's come out and shaken hands with people during the occupation of the People's Plaza, for example, and then turn around and supported his municipal government actions against Occupy.
Eric, I just tried to
No,
say,
his credit, he
I
did
think
not
a
do
lot of
that.
people were already at the event, but I thought Patty gave an amazing speech.
Yeah.
She told me afterward it was just off the cuff, and I thought it was just really, really strong.
When she said it took them only 150 years to ruin the climate, it was just explosive. The rhythm of the speech before that, and with that line, it was just one of the best lines I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Yes, I meant to say that to me.
Yeah.
I'm ready for everybody here. We're all okay.
Yeah,
Black woman was really good. She was dynamite.
Who was?
Very good. Anita, the young black woman.
Mm-hmm.
The high school speech. It was very impressive. Yeah.
So we should maybe think of doing some more stuff like this with them. On the MLK. It's kind of it's good to do it on MLK,
Next
but
year.
as we said, nobody's working.
That's your
There
President's
was
Day.
no journalist really. We could have.
I'm down.
We could have like the same thing. Like for justice, housing. And like jobs, or like good education. In North Minneapolis and all this. We could have an easy 300 to 400 people.
Here,
You know, we could do that either spring, but I think it's something to keep in mind because that was good. That was very good. Yeah.
I just wanted to say something about the MLK, like the welfare rights committees. People didn't show up, and then Deb Children was really gracious about speaking. But one of the things that I was really, I guess, I feel really strongly about is, like, nobody talks about the Democrats being responsible for the welfare policy. Nobody talks about Clinton being the one who's responsible for putting out those term limits. Nobody talks about how he told the multi-million-dollar business corporations that if I sign the term limits for this policy and give, term limits to welfare recipients, you're going to have to provide them with jobs. And they never followed through with it. And nobody talks about the high unemployment when they're talking about welfare. Nobody brings that up. How it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how can a mom and a kid, be on welfare and then get cut off and then expect her to go to work when there's no employment?
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? There's no housing, there's no
backup now.
And the businesses got away with that because they never followed through with their end of the deal, their end of the bargain, and nobody brings that to the table. Nobody talks about that. And and I'm very passionate about that because it's like, you have to hold the Democrats to the table for that and hold them accountable for that. They're the ones who helped create that nightmare of a policy for people on welfare. And I'm not just talking about women on welfare. I'm talking about the disabled. I'm talking about people who are, incapable of going to work. I'm talking about, GA, for example. I'm talking about these different programs while they're waiting approval for SSI and they got $200 to live on for a month out of the whole year. Because that's, not unless they get a medical statement or whatever. But I guess what I'm trying to say here is that the businesses did not follow through and they did not hire people like they said they were going to. And everyone talks and brags about the Clinton era, about his years in office and how great he was. But what he did was he ended a lot of jobs because at that time, people went part-time and it doubled up on the numbers of employment. It was an illusion.
And NAFTA.
And NAFTA, it was an illusion. It was an illusion. Instead of having a 40-hour week, they dropped it to a 20 to 24-hour week, doubled up on the numbers as it looked, we doubled the numbers of jobs. Well, yeah, but you also cut out their health insurance.
You have to also.
You also cut out their health insurance in the process. And nobody talks about this stuff. And to me, it's like, it's really about holding people accountable. It's like, I really support the welfare rights committee, but I think these other issues are really critical and important because all people are hearing is we want more free money. That's what they're hearing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? They're not hearing why.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I want to make
Make up your mind.
I want to make a really strong point, and I want to wait until everybody is quiet and listening about this because this is
Mic check.
okay, and it's a very big fact that we have to really, really be aware of as a political group, as the Occupy group, everything. The news, the media, those are all businesses. They are not there to tell the news. Okay? They're not there to tell
Well, they're
for
propaganda
information.
machines.
They're there to get across what people will watch. They're not there to tell, okay, something terrible is happening over here or something terrible is happening there necessarily. They're there to make sure that somebody watches their channel as opposed to somebody else's channel.
But what's the point?
We know
The
that you're
point is
preaching to
they
the choir.
make money,
Yeah, we know
billions
that.
and billions of money
Well,
per
This crowd knows
channel.
But that's why we turn to social networking and social media for
Yes,
those
exactly.
reasons, okay?
There's-
Because we know all this stuff. We know that they lie to us.
Right.
They know that the news is.
Right.
Okay, next. I got it.
Can I say viral of the economy is related to the Clinton era which led to folks not having money, which in my viewpoint has led to landlords not having money, which has led to the housing market, which, I mean, all of it is all interrelated. I know so many people that are small-time landlords, maybe 1 building, 2 units, maybe 4 units. Nobody has any money to pay the rent. They're subsidizing the tenants. It's they're the new Mary Jo's or the new Mother Teresa's.
He also signed off on
So,
Glass-Steagall.
Huh?
He also signed off on Glass-Steagall.
And deregulated the derivative market,
And that
which
was
Yep,
crashed the
exactly.
economy. Yeah. So we know this.
The other thing-
Don't want Hillary.
Thank you, Paul.
Okay,
We're
let's
gonna move on.
Kathy.
We have publicity on Facebook, and then Kathy, but what is publicity on?
Oh, I
Facebook?
just wanted to say, when I was trying to get out the word about the Panther movie, I realized I'm doing the emails, and I'm doing them for a crowd that likes articles and information, the older crowd. But I didn't, when Liz and Dana are around, it doesn't get out on Facebook very easily. So
Okay.
we need to have it a little more systematized. Maybe next week at 5 o'clock, Dana's going to teach media stuff here, 5:15.
Okay.
And maybe I'll get him to teach media. I can make a Facebook page in an emergency. But basically, I think the younger people know how to talk to the younger people. They do quicker, funnier things on Facebook. And I can do the emails with kind of the background literature and background videos that I know the email generation hasn't seen on Facebook. So that's my kind of philosophy, but including a few video clips and articles. When we're doing something new, like car sands or finding information, I put
Oh, I
something.
know, I thought you did a great job on creating the event.
What's your name?
Sam.
Sam.
Thank you.
I created an event. I did post it. So
Polly, we could designate someone to be like a point person for and someone that comes regularly to be like an admin on Facebook.
yeah.
Because, I don't have it because I don't use Facebook. Otherwise, I would do it. But Dan and Liz would be fine with that.
Right.
Dan, I think both of them are admins. Otherwise, you could talk to April.
Admins on.
Facebook, so you could just post things. Because right now, if you post something to that page, I'm pretty sure they have to have a moderator approve it. Because I got a bunch of stuff rejected without knowing it,
You're
too.
talking about the Occupy MN page.
Yeah.
Yes, thank
Yep.
you. That would
Yeah.
be good if I could do that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
we have a backup and a system because I realized we got a lot more energy now and we got to reach out to a lot more young Facebook people.
Yeah.
That's where the crowd is,
Yeah.
not the emails.
Twitter, too.
Okay.
3 things. Facebook. Now, it is also a business which may or may not, at some point, decide to censor us and whoever else
It's too useful for now.
is.
Huh? It's too useful. The telephone companies are businesses too. You can't.
I know. The second thing I wanted to point out, there's this thing, at least there used to be, I haven't checked on it in a long time, it's called Guerrilla News Network, and it's independently funded. It's called GNN, and it's a totally independent news network. It's not corporate news. And thirdly, there's Noam Chomsky. Look him up on the internet. He has a book. One of my favorite books is called Manufacturing Consent. He was a professor of linguistics at Harvard University, and he outlined.
Excuse me, it was MIT.
Are you sure it was MIT?
Yeah.
or not?
Yeah.
There's
He's
no
still
Chomsky.
there.
We all know this, I think. Don't we?
He's still there.
I love Noam Chomsky.
He did go to Canada for a while because he was afraid of what the government might do.
Yeah.
Okay, manufacturing
think so.
consent, and he also has. If you look on the internet, something called Not Corporate News, which is sort of like GNN, where he does reports on stuff that you won't hear in the mass media. And that's all I got to say about that.
Okay. Yes. This should be on Facebook. Okay. So 5:15 next Wednesday.
Twitter here, right here.
Well,
Yeah.
Twitter and other media education.
Well, don't erase anything over there. People copy that side down to speed up the announcement process. I wrote down.
Good idea.
Okay.
Okay. Kathy, tell us about the Capitol.
Actually,
Energy.
Susie wants to give a little
Europe.
report first on what the tar sands group or the Enbridge Energy thing is doing as well.
Oh, okay. Are
Yay.
we gonna do that? Well, we have been meeting, met twice.
Oh.
This Sunday and last Sunday.
Okay.
What we were supposed to be doing, that's what we were meeting on, and we came up with dividing up some of the work in terms of covering the PUC document by Enbridge and also about our answer to why we don't want them and don't need them here anywhere, actually, including here in Minnesota.
That's right. That's
We've been
one way.
Some of us, many of you people who are here right now, were at a hearing where we, and some like Eric were great. They have signed, along with Debbie, saying they didn't want Enbridge pipeline tar sands.
Cool.
A lot of good questions from Liz got presented. Maybe everybody heard this last week. So that was one good experience we had. And then we went to a hearing yesterday, which I'm going to cover, Kathy. Sure. Which was superb. In terms of all the information. Then there were a few questions by some Republican people who weren't very happy with the presentations, but tried to couch their remarks in a sort of a way that wouldn't necessarily appear to be totally. And there's so many buses. Yeah.
How much is the train and how much is the bus?
We don't know the bus.
Bus is $225.
Bus is cheap.
Bus is cheaper?
How much is train?
Yes, it is.
370.
Might as well fly.
FYI, Greyhound's number is 1-800-231.
That's okay for you.
Never mind. But Amtrak is 1-800-USA-RAIL.
Okay.
1-800-USA-RAIL.
I was gonna say, take about 2 seconds.
Bus, I'm not sure when that's leaving because we've been waiting to hear the details from the 350.
And when is the President's Day? I'm trying to
It's
get
that
that
weekend of the 18th.
Yeah, I heard something about everyone was going over to Washington I'm sorry.
Sierra, www.sierra.com. Sierra Club, sorry, Sierra Club.
Sierra
It's
Club,
got
okay.
advertisement about a
Ooh.
bus.
Yeah.
So Sierra
good.
Club's running a bus, I'm not sure. MN50 is supposedly running a bus. I haven't heard
And
about it.
today, the senator of Nebraska did
Yes,
hello.
Okay, but he's coming pipeline.
He did what?
So he was
Senator
the last
Nebraska,
one.
Governor of Nebraska.
Did.
Yeah. He was the last state governor that didn't agree for the pipeline to go through state.
Ooh.
Now we did, so now only Obama can do something.
I got a,
Well, it's important.
I got a good point of information for this.
Okay, the Keystone Pipeline.
Yeah. Good, happy, optimistic point of information regarding that. Now the Sierra Club has announced that for the first time in their history, they're going to allow direct action, which is pretty badass because of how big and respected and everything that group is.
Yeah.
So it's their plan.
Social disobedience.
The what?
Well, time they stepped it up.
Social disobedience.
Yeah. Yeah, direct action, civil disobedience. And apparently it sounds weird, but their plans to have like a closed event, like semi-private, kind of high-profile thing. But I'm sure they'll dig up some people that'll get more notoriety for it, so that'll be good.
Yeah, people in ties don't like to get in the mud.
This is the announcement. Go to the Sierra Club websites for buses, 25, 350 down to ours, Amtrak, 370. This will get it down to 350.
And I think we could Occupy try to make money, raise money for that. Should we?
The train deadline is tomorrow, sorry.
Oh.
We'll have to make the train reservation in order to get the group rate by tomorrow. It's been extended 3 times now. Now, I don't know about the bus. The bus may still be open longer, but I think Thursday is the deadline
the train.
for the train.
Okay.
To get the group this.
What about the
There's
buses?
3 celebrities going on the train too. It's Prudence Johnson and Louise Erdrich
Yeah, Louise Erdrich.
and
And
Kevin Kling.
Who?
Kevin.
Kathy.
Yes, Kathy and Susie and Susu. And I don't know. We're going for the party on the train.
We could try to raise money to a concert, Occupy.
They're having
the
tar sands.
There's a fundraiser on February 1st.
For tar
The
sands.
next announcement, yeah, we gotta do that. Let's do these before we get to Kathy.
That's fine.
This is February 1st, starting at noon to 10 p.m. here. There's a benefit for the tar sands blockade. And Loki and Andrew and Nick are organizing.
That's an all-day thing.
Sweet.
It's an all-day thing. I don't know. They're talking about Jeopardy. I don't know if they're talking about games with kids during the day. But I think.
And teaching.
And the teach-in. That's what I was just getting to. I think at 4 o'clock they're going to show tar sands, Alberta tar sands video that Gillette recommended, To the Last Drop. You can also see, it's 50 minutes, you can see it online. But they're going to show it, it's wonderful, beautiful. Shot. And then after that, Patty is going to do a teach-in on Indigenous Issues, Treaty Rights, Idle No More, Sovereignty. Yeah, so the 4 to 6 slot is guaranteed fascinating. And then probably food, and then,
Where is it?
right here.
Oh,
Right here,
here.
but I don't know what is after that. Music, there'll be music, Troy will perform, and I'm not sure what else.
Question about that. Is any of the money that you're getting out of this benefit going to go to help Gillette buy the computer for the guy that needs it, that's putting his money, his life and time in the line down
About
there?
that last week.
That's what this is for.
Oh, how much money did
I think we're
get
just gonna
to
fix
Gillette?
the computer instead
You're
of.
gonna repair the computer instead.
I think
It won't
zero.
work.
It won't.
Oh, you
I
already
think
talked
so.
about
He
it?
already got a hard drive.
I've had a kernel panic before, and it's not that big of a
No,
fix.
but he needs a more, what he wants to do.
We all need new stuff.
No, but you're not up on the tree.
On to the next thing.
Okay, now for Kathy.
Wait, is that, do we have a flyers?
$5 admission, but no one turned away at the door. It is a fundraiser. Bring friends.
An email?
There's a
And bring
Facebook
food.
group.
I'm bringing a little
There
bit
is
of
a
food, but I'm
Facebook
not feeding
page.
everybody.
Is it up on Facebook now?
Yeah.
Okay,
How's it
because I
called?
can blow that up too.
How is it called?
Great.
So
Benefit
Tarzan,
Thousand
Block
Block
So
it.
good at that.
And besides,
Anybody know
Facebook.
the Facebookers?
Do you know something?
I think it's
I don't know.
on email.
I'm not on the
Yeah.
Facebook. I'm not hip.
Why not?
You're not?
I don't like it so much. On Twitter.
In charge.
Benefits. I'm not
Uh-oh.
even- I'm going. Benefit Thousand Blockade. Okay. Friday, February. Maybe it was an email.
And we went Kathy.
Kathy.
Yes, Kathy, we went.
Capital Renette.
Okay, Chuck and Susie and myself and other people, Susie Jeffrey have been going to hearings at the Capitol. We've been doing a Tuesday, Thursday thing. We went to 2 on groundwater. The first one was just how is groundwater doing in Minnesota? And basically the news was there that we're using groundwater at a greater rate than what we can replenish our groundwater and our aquifers underneath the ground. That's not a big surprise to anyone. But, you know, the representatives heard that, so I think that was important. The big uses of water, of course, irrigation, that kind of thing, and also just the number of wells. I was surprised to find out that 70% of the people in Minnesota are getting their water from wells and aquifers, and only 30% are getting it from surface water. I was surprised by
Your way
that.
or their way?
But anyway, the next hearing was on sources of contamination for groundwater, and that one was a little drier. It was kind of hard to stay awake for that one, but that was kind of encouraging because what they're finding out is that a lot of these aquifers are actually not very polluted. Yay! Wonderful news. We all need some good news. They mentioned the aquifer underneath the city of Edina, for example, is 20,000-year-old water. I thought that was really cool. Well, why does Edina always get the best? So, I mean, they're drinking some pretty old water, some pretty good water. They are watching
What is an aquifer?
a pool of water underneath the ground that you can sink a pipe into, and then you have a well.
Okay, thank you.
But less and less people have artesian wells, which was the old thing. When you stuck a pipe down, the water would just gurgle up because it was under such pressure. And now that's not happening anymore because these aquifers are being drawn down. There was one good case study where, again, I don't remember what department of Minnesota came, but they said that in one particular city they noticed that there was a whole bunch of water in a holding pond, which they were just going to open up and let run into the river or whatever. And somebody, bright idea, said, why don't we use this for irrigation or whatever? And when they did that, then the aquifer in that area was replenished over a year because they were using so much from this holding pool of water, which was apparently good enough for irrigation or whatever. So there were some solutions. When people realize that our aquifers are going dry, there's some, maybe some things that people can do. I was also surprised to find out the city of Worthington is already pumping water in from
Nice.
like Iowa. Another city is pumping water in from Madison, Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm amazed that the water pumping has started already.
Wow.
But so anyway, the legislature's heard that, and the sources of pollutants, they're looking at nitrates and they're looking at arsenic, and the one that was in the paper, triclosan or something. That's also coming, apparently, in from women cosmetics and whatnot, and the antibacterial soap kind of thing. They're saying these are the major pollutants now, so maybe they'll stop marketing some of that triclosan or whatever. But the most amazing hearing that we've all been to was on Tuesday, yesterday, between noon and about 2:30. Senator John Marty called his environment group in for the Senate, And he had an agenda stacked with about 7 climate change experts. And no, I didn't know going in I was going to be listening to Will Steger and all these people. It was just fantastic. It was Paul Douglas. It was John Abraham. It was Mark Seeley. It was Will Steger. It was J. Drake Hamilton. It was a president of the insurance industry who was, commenting on how climate change is affecting the insurance industry.
It included Paul Douglas also.
Paul Douglas, thanks. Reich or somebody from forestry. So 7 or 8 experts just banged that committee saying climate change is here, climate change is coming. And each one didn't know what the other one was going to present. So the overwhelming echo was just undeniable. The room was dead quiet. The Republican senators were just like, we're getting pummeled in here. And the most interesting thing was at the end there were maybe 7 or 8 minutes of questions. And one of the questions from the Republican senator was, you keep talking about this as urgent. Well, how urgent is it?
Very good.
And I love this answer. John Abraham said, it's too late. And I think that is a fantastic answer to how urgent is it. And he did clarify that. He said of the milestones that scientists are looking at, there's about 10 milestones that they're looking at for climate change, and we have already passed. I don't know what it is, like three milestones or whatever. But he spoke specifically about the ice melt in Greenland, and he said he's been speaking to the scientists that just study ice. He used a word, I don't remember the word. But he said of the people who study ice, they have more or less determined that Greenland's going. 100% of the ice is going to go off Greenland. And when the senators heard that, I mean, it was really hard for them not to accept, because expert after expert took that testimony, gave their slides. Here's Will Steger if anybody wants to see them. Here's Paul Douglas.
Nice.
And I mean, it was just so irrefutable. And Paul Douglas started out by saying, I am a Republican, I am an evangelical Christian, and I believe in climate change. And his whole presentation was aimed at Republicans. He had quotes from Ronald Reagan. He was saying he also was a climate change skeptic, and he said there wasn't any particular fact that changed his mind. But he said just over the years, he was a skeptic in the 1980s, he just started noticing that statistic after statistic or trend after trend, all were separately telling him that something unusual is going on. And he said it was no particular one thing. But when you just added up the cumulative picture, he could not escape the fact that climate change is happening. And he had some kind of quote, I don't remember what it was exactly, Chuck, but he said something like, he was talking to Republicans, it is good to be skeptic, you can ask questions, you can question a particular fact, but he said it does no longer make sense to deny this whole thing and to be bullheaded or whatever. He didn't use that word, but
Albert Einstein?
it's time, no, Paul Douglas.
Oh, but I meant the quote.
Oh, yeah. He said it is time to realize that this is happening. So it was outstanding. I was so glad to be there. I just felt like,
Oh, what was it?
I could have died after that session. That was great.
What was it?
It was Tuesday in the Capitol, room 107,
170.
between 12:30 and 2:30.
Open session?
Yeah, well, we just knew it was on environment, those of us who went, and I think Polly advertised it for the whole group. We just said environment, we didn't know what the specific agenda was.
And there will be another one tomorrow.
And walking in, yeah, there's a second hearing
Same
also.
time,
on
same
environment.
place.
No, I think the second one tomorrow is going to be the individual
Different environment
state
committee.
departments
No,
in
it's
the
the same
Minnesota
committee.
state
John
are going
Marty's
to come and
committee.
report how they're doing against the global climate change guidelines that were set by the Next Generation Energy Act, which was passed under Bulletin in 2007, saying that Minnesota has to reduce fossil fuel consumption by 15% by 2015 and go to 25% renewables by 2025. So I think each one of the departments are going to come forward and say whether they're on track or not. So this one could be a little drier. But Tuesday was outstanding. That's all I can say. I'm so glad I was there.
Yeah. What a treat.
Actually, you answered one of my questions. What was the turnout in general? Like, was there a lot of grassroots people there in attendance?
Every chair was taken except for one that I'm aware of. I would guess there were maybe 65 people in the room.
Okay.
And the only cell phone that rang, I forgot to turn it off. I was so embarrassed.
Well, you were the most important person.
When Will Steger, the last Will Steger was speaking, a pin could have dropped in that room. It was so quiet, and that cell phone went off.
But was it good techno dubstep? like my cell phone.
It might be online, if you can find it online, it was so wonderful. I watched
If
it 2
anybody
hours.
finds it online,
Just
send
like
it.
there's
There's
the
the-
things, because I was there.
Okay, go ahead.
One of the gentlemen, I guess the thermodynamics person, talked about the oceans, and in case anybody isn't aware, we're losing the oceans. The acidity is due to this whole process of global warming is destroying. They won't hold any more carbon. We can't get oxygen out of them. The animals that have to have shells, they won't be able to make the shells, and they're going fast. It's an access for life to be living. So that's pretty important. Another urgent thing, which I was already aware of, but I'm glad they brought it up. And Paul Douglas made a big point about the fact that you have to look at the peer-reviewed science. And X number, I don't know how many, he said 97% of scientists, and all that he read, all of the peer-reviewed science says, this is a fact that's happening.
I have a question. Was anybody from IEM there? Did you see any natives hanging out there?
I did not. It was more like a few of us, just regular folks and some professionals and
I guess
lawyers.
the reason why I'm bringing that up is because I really think that, like, the native, community needs to be more involved, like, honor the earth and, IEN, not that they don't do good work, I'm just saying these environmental organizations that, that are supposed to be advocating for, environmental issues are not at the table. They're not present. Like, where are the Indians?
And then call John Marty.
I know. But the point, I guess the point that I would really like to get to is that because up in Canada, they're really making a strong statement. They are talking about writing legislation to block China from the negotiations with Canada because of their sovereignty and their treaties and things like that. And I guess that's what I'm looking towards, something really, really strong coming from the tribes here as well. And I guess I'm just kind of feeling a little bit disconnect from that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I think John Marty is very open. I think if you call him or email his administrative assistant and say, here's a speaker I would recommend, I bet you $10 he could. I mean,
yeah, John seems pretty
things have changed, and I can't believe it at the Capitol.
Yeah.
I mean, we're hearing science, pure raw science, which is pretty freaky.
I love it. I was just
Right,
very...
the American, okay, natives, I've lived on a Native American reservations in America, and the mentality in America is a lot different from the mentality in Canada. Like, I don't know about the natives so much, but what the natives had to deal with here, the mentality that the natives have to deal with here, is a lot worse than the mentality they have to deal with in Canada. I mean, for one thing, the federal government appoints their tribal councils. They're not allowed to have their traditional chiefs. There's a whole laundry list of BS that America does to natives that they don't do in Canada. I'm not saying that Canada's a saint or anything, but I think they've had to cope with worse problems.
Susan.
I'm sorry.
Well, just to piggyback on what you were saying, I think, and I was worried about this when I heard about the watering park, because I was not there for it. Were they testing up in the tribal areas? Were they testing where there's all these oil leaks and stuff? That's all I want to say. That would be good.
It would
Get
be
that
good to know
information
these
down
things.
here.
And
It's
also,
vital.
it would also be really good to find out about ceded territory and treaties and what does that mean in respect to pipelines and drilling and things like that, and how informed are the councils about the impact, the environmental impact that these types of, fracking and drilling and these types of things are going to have on their communities. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm really glad that you brought up the point about Indigenous people at the state capitol. Like, the way I see it as a white person who land, like that institution has historically never been very welcoming to indigenous people in the state. And you can go back to Alexander Ramsey, who was basically, saying genocide quotes, quotes that today would indict him as a genocide heir in international criminal courts, right? So we have a long history that we have not yet resolved in terms of facing up to our colonial past. And I think if I were thinking about some of the indigenous people who I know, I would have reservations about being included in that group, that legislative body, given its history.
I would just like to say that, oftentimes you think of the natives as being sovereign and that they are independent. So perhaps if they don't know, if the government doesn't know that they are interested, they're not going to extend themselves that information. Somebody from the natives needs to awaken them and let them know that you are interested.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I think that, we all got a jump off point, you know what I mean? And, sometimes you just gotta make change. Like you gotta just let the old guard kind of fall to the side and get some new blood in there that's more interested, that and can make those presentations to the Minnesota Indian Affairs Council or to tribal councils in general and say, look, this is what's going on. What is your community going to do about it? You cannot eat, drink oil, like I said. You have to really, and the visuals really help. The visuals of showing your water on fire help. It really brings it home of what we're dealing with when we talk about methane and fracking. So anyway, yeah, I think we got our work cut out for us. One of us. Whether we're white, whether we're black, whether we're Indian, or whatever, we are all responsible for what happens to this earth. It shouldn't just fall on the burden of Indians. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we're going to do our part. We obviously already are with Idle No More. Okay? We are obviously drawing attention to tar sands. We are obviously doing all the work that we can at a very rapid rate. We've captured the world in less than 6 weeks. That's phenomenal. So we're doing our part.
One more thing.
A little bit at a
Rest
time.
on your laurels.
I'd like to say, too, that as sovereign nations, Native Americans, I think that they need that it would be helpful, okay, as sovereign nations, to bring your concerns to the United Nations. One of the things that helped was there was this reservation, there's an Navajo reservation,
Hopi.
and the George Bush administration wanted to essentially cut it into 1/3 so that they could do some kind of, uranium mining or something. And they went to the United Nations, and the United Nations said, well, you can't do that. That's a sovereign nation. Blah 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 blah. So don't forget about the UN, the United Nations. The United Nations can help.
Well, I know most founders have been invited to the UN in May, but I really don't have a lot of, personally, I can tell you from my experience, I don't have a lot of vesting. I invest in the people who can actually right here, right now.
Let's go.
That's just me. I can't speak for everybody.
I wish we had more time to have the debate.
Can you put this one?
Yeah.
Thanks. I don't have it.
It is for next Wednesday. Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious that we need people, from the bottom up, I like what Sneaker is doing, he's raising millions of dollars, and he's a good speaker, but I believe in the people's power way more. Anyway, announcements. We have very fun things coming, like potluck. Why don't we talk about that? Eric?
Oh, can I add an announcement?
Yes.
I didn't know there was a chance for me to sit down.
Go ahead. Yeah.
It's about, actually it's totally related to what we're talking about. It's a environmental forum, and it's this Monday at 7 o'clock. And should I just wait until?
No, go ahead.
Okay. So the speaker is Candy Mossett. Anybody know if I'm pronouncing her name right? Candy Mossett is the Native Energy and Climate Campaign organizer for the Indigenous Environmental Network.
Yay.
And she is going to be speaking via Skype about, well, the title is The Price We Pay for Energy Independence, the environmental and social impacts of the Bakken oil shale boom in North Dakota. So again, this is Monday, 7 p.m. This Monday, the 28th, 7 p.m. Mayday Bookstore, 301 Cedar Avenue South.
Her name is?
Candy with a K.
That would be after the Idle No More dance at the.
Yeah.
The Golden Park, whatever it's called.
It's 7 p.m.
Candy. That's
I'll
her
have to
name.
let
Name?
Gold.
Candy Mossett.
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 Thank you.
Okay. Anybody want to talk about the potlucks?
Kathy's getting busy, as you see. She had to be up at 8:30 yesterday morning, 8:30 tomorrow morning to go down to these hearings and project this incredible information. So the idea is to relieve her with the food here, especially next week. She's not even going to be here.
Okay.
I'm just joking, I'm just doing sign language.
You want to do that sign language we say?
Should we leave me with the food? I said, no, we shouldn't.
Relieve you of the food.
Oh, always.
Yes, relieve you of the food. She's been doing an incredible yeoman's job of organizing it. And so the thought is, do we go to potlucks? If somebody need to be kind of coordinated. Kathy has always kind of coordinated the food. Put out an email group, bring food, what are you bringing? So we know ahead of time what we have. We do potlucks, it's more haphazard, but it might be more of what we can do at this point. I don't know, because you don't want to coordinate it.
No, that's fine.
Do you, or do you?
We've been coordinating, so we have a vegetarian and a non-vegetarian. I don't know if you've been noticing that. This is planned, folks.
Yes.
And that kind of thing. So Dory and Susie and I have been doing it. But next week we have a meeting with state legislatures. If you want to bring someone from I don't know more, or nominate a name.
Yeah.
At 4:30 next Wednesday, we're going to meet with some.
I want to get both of your information before I leave so that we can start doing some collaborative kind of work together. The other thing that I wanted to mention, and I know that it's not really connected, maybe it's connected to potlucks, I don't know, but before I leave, I just wanted to mention that I've been in contact with the founders, and I asked a couple of them if they would come down here to the States, to Minnesota, and go on a speaking tour, and I just wanted to kind of put that out there to everybody and kind of like give you a heads up about what may be possibly happening in the next couple months, or within a month and a half, bringing in some more founders, and I take them on a speaking tour here in the cities, and then up to Bemidji, and then over to Duluth, and up in the Fond du Lac area, and the college areas and things like that. And they'll probably be needing some organizational help when that happens, and pulling these speaking engagements together and planning and so on and so forth. So I just wanted to put that out there to you. I don't know specifically who's going to be coming down, but it's going to be one of the founders. I don't know which one. Just so that you guys know.
Yeah. And not President's Day weekend.
Huh?
Try to avoid President's Day weekend.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because I'll be in Washington. I'll probably be here too. So.
I could help.
I mean, we all need to help. I mean, in this process. We all need, this isn't just my thing. I'm bringing it to the table for all of us.
There's a newspaper
Or
man
support.
from Duluth that
Or
said,
support.
I don't know more came up there or anything, any activities came up there. He wanted to know so he could cover it.
Yeah, well, I'll be collaborating with the Duluth people along with the Bemidji people. I've already talked to some people up north in Bemidji that will be probably helping fund some of the trip for them. And then, we got to talk about that too, So we have an I Don't Know More meeting coming up on Sunday. It's going to be at the Indian Center on Franklin. I think it's going to be from like 12 to 2 or something like that, but I'll let everybody know. For I Don't Know More's Monday, and then what are we going to do from that point on? We can do the teach-in, on the 1st, but then what are we going to do? I mean, the next, you know what I'm saying, then what? And my then what is to take I Don't Know More to Washington on February 18th, and then along with everybody else, right, really push that agenda. That's going to be, and then push the tour for the founders to come down here. Hopefully we'll get one of the lawyers to come down. One's a lawyer. I'd really like her to come down.
That'd be handy.
I can't be thinking. They all have their own level of expertise. One's a professor, one's a lawyer. They all have their own thing going on. One's a mom. A couple of them are moms, though.
So like maybe U of M or the colleges might be great advice too.
Yeah.
MCGC.
But again, we need to go to the planning table to start laying it out. Well, I think that we have this meeting coming up on Sunday at the Indian Center from 12 to 2 that we can start talking about it. And I'll try, I contacted 2 of the founders between yesterday and today. And so I'll kind of follow up with them to see where they're at. Because, you can only imagine they're extremely busy. I mean, I'm surprised they even respond to me as quickly as they do, but they do. They respond to me, and they get back to me right away because I think they know the level of work that we're doing down here. So, Minneapolis is a great community for them. As far as their support, we are, we help kind of guide their agenda too, back and forth. Like when we opened up on the and you've heard me say this before, when we decided to open up the I Don't Know More on the opening session last week of the legislative session for 2013 at the Capitol, they followed. Right, and they're going, and on the 28th, that's why J28 is so important, because they're all going to be in Ottawa at the Parliament. On J28. That's what that whole thing is about. So they kind of followed what we were doing, and I was talking to Sylvia, one of the lawyers, and she said, shh, I think this is what we want to do, but here she's not going down to Louisiana. She'll be in New Orleans, but the other 3 will be in Ottawa with the students and unions.
Down. Let's try to keep it's going to get bad enough. Let's try to keep it as healthy as we can. And monitor ourselves, because that's part of a new society is less sugar and more real food. So let's try to keep it up. And if people, and don't expect other people to do your work, just come prepared with the food. We can heat the oven now, but if it's a long, things start at 6 o'clock, so keep that in mind, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the other thought as we go along, that fantasy I always had is cooking lessons. If we want to do something fun, this one is an amazing cook. Jay-Z is an amazing cook. If anybody ever wanted to do a real cooking lesson, I would come at 5 for that.
Cooking and French at the same time.
No, this is along the line of skill sharing and trying to improve our nutrition and trying to get away from corporate junk food.
Yes.
That's what I say. Let's not bring corporate junk food. Let's try to keep it. Huh? Yeah. Yes, now chocolate is an exception.
Yeah.
Can we pass the hat for the meeting tonight?
Oh.